All right, good morning. So I set my timer. You see me here. Um, now I'm going to be wavering in and out as I work on the kitchen. I'm doing the usual cycle of dishes, laundry, dishes, laundry. Not only is that cycle never ending, so is the cycle of actually doing either dishes or laundry. Um, at some point in time, I had to come to the terms that that's just life, and I never could do that. And it was just always aggravating. Dishes, laundry. Till someday, someone sat me down and told me over potatoes why it's so important for us to do dishes and laundry. So this person would make breakfast. They'd first go in and they would check and see what leftovers they had. So the leftovers they had, sometimes vegetables, sometimes meat, sometimes breakfast stuff, they'd go and make their breakfast with. And making their breakfast get kind of mixed. And I learned how to do this, and I kind of do this at night before I go to bed. I find the little leftovers and something to put it with and go from there. So as they made me potatoes, and these old people had all hundreds of ways to make potatoes, just to fry potatoes and cut potatoes. They had all these different methods of doing it. And so this old person one time, and I will say she told me, she said, you're going to be doing laundry and dishes for your whole life, if you're fortunate. Because a lot of people get to a point where they can't do laundry and dishes, and they have to have somebody else do it for them, or they got to have assistance, or they got to eat off paper or plastic, or, however they do it. And she said, back in the old day, everybody had to eat the same way anyways, because the food was all the same. You didn't have variety. You had what was. So there was summer, spring, fall, and winter. And you had stored foods, and you had fresh foods, and you had, all these different kinds of foods from nature. I almost said from the nature. But anyways, since you're stuck with all these things in the cycle, and you're stuck with the work, you have to sort, you have to cut, you have to wash, you have to grind, you have to do 100 different things to 100 different things just to be able to catch it. Then you have to be able to process it. Then you have to be able to eat it. So when looking at it that way, she looked around and did what I did and figured out what you're going to put with your potatoes. I don't know if you can see this too well, but this is a leftover baked egg. I guess you call it a quiche or frittata. And so, she would go find, I think she might have had leftover pot roast or something, because I remember there was vegetables in the potatoes we had. I think there was even turnips in the fried potatoes we had. And she said, you're going to be doing that stuff over and over and over and over for the rest of your life if you're lucky, because that's what our people used to do. They had all these things that they would do, and they would talk, and they would sing, and sometimes they were just quiet. Sometimes they were reverent. Sometimes they did it while they're angry, real mad, chop around, or clean, or when they were nervous. I know a lot of people that clean late at night when they're nervous. So all those things that are in there, they're going to be there no matter what. You can get mad about it, you can get sad about it, you can do it or not do it, you can do it halfway, or whatever you're going to do. That's your choice, however you're going to do it. But just remember that it's not just you and your household, especially if you have a family. If you have a family, then you have those hundreds of things on top of the hundreds of things that you got to do, and you have their hundreds of things that kind of intermingle with that. Just like right now, we have a cycle where all the one side of clean dishes is full, and I got to put it away, and then put away, and then do the dirty dishes. You always have to have these cycles of things. But since we don't walk around on foot, and since we don't walk from place to place, and since we don't walk from here and walk to there and have to source everything we have in the most basic of ways, we've lost the ability to understand that these processes are going to be over and over and over and over. And we'll refine them as long as we go. And we'll have to change it as we get older, or as the young come along, we have to teach them. But no matter what we do, there's always going to be laundry and dishes. Yeah, I know ending it like that, saying there's always going to be laundry and dishes, is probably not the most motivating thing, but just the fact that it is. And if you accept it, then you can figure out how your day is going to progress, how your week is going to progress, how your life is going to progress, not based on laundry and dishes, but based on the fact that they're just things you have to do. Do them over and over and over again. And eventually, you get those beautiful potatoes those old people used to fry with no oil. So that's all I wanted to say this morning. Enjoy your potatoes. And I'm waiting for the thing to buzz, because I know if I keep on going, I'll keep on going and keep on going and keep on going and keep on going. There it is. So if you're wondering, yeah, I do wear sunglasses in the house. Pretty bright for me. You notice there's no lights on in the kitchen. But let's get started here. And if I can reach this, I actually have the phone plugged in. See, there's a little well in the middle of the potatoes. And can I turn this? No, well, let's see. We'll just do this. Now you see I have veggies. I'm like, where's your meat? Well, one thing I'm discovering about our people, and it's not too hard to understand, is that our people didn't always eat meat all the time. It just wasn't a possibility. With the way that the migratory patterns, the amount of animals, the amount of available resources, there really wasn't a real need to eat just meat all the time, because there was a plentiful amount of everything. The people eventually adjusted to whatever food was available at the time that they were in. You've heard me talk about talk about quote unquote the ages. There's different ages in just the Toyota culture, and then also in the greater northern Paiute cultures that show that there were different ages in time, kind of like this. Different ages in time, because we were here long enough to watch ancient Lake Lahontan at this time, and then as it dried up, we got to watch in our drying time now, the land basically spread out like this, and then we were able to roam more of the land. So our food changed over those times. Our intake changed. Our our dietary needs changed over those times. In our time now, our dietary needs are still the same as they have been for the last probably 1,000 years, several thousand years. But the problem is the availability of those foods. So substituting one thing or another, see I have egg here with spinach in it. So we've been eating a lot of greens. And by now it's starting to get warm in the day, so the ducks are starting to show up and laying eggs. And I've heard them making noise out there recently too. So if you ever hear anybody talk about tribes and that they ate specifically this food or that food, it's not just because they ate all cattail or tule or trout and all these different things that especially the northern Paiute bands are named after. It's not that they ate just those things, it's just that in their microclimate, that was their specific thing. And as a way to mark that place and the expertise and the methods and the times and how the setting was, that's how our names came to be from these different foods. And obviously, you don't have pepper tribes here, but I'm sure that somewhere you have tribes or bands that are named, again, for this food specific to these types of things. Like if you had cucumber here, I would tell you that's really close. Or water chestnut is really close to what the inside of what cattail and tule, the bottoms of the soft shoots taste like. Because they have a little bit of starch, but they have a lot of moisture and they're a little stringy. That's really what is inside those bottom portions of the tules and the cattails. When you pull it out of it, it goes whoop and pulls out of the root. That's what it tastes like. Our different meats, our different nuts, berries, all kinds of things. There's something that exists in are contemporary existence that could act as a substitute, but not long term. Most of the fruits and vegetables that you find now are so highly hybridized that they're nothing near to what they were as natural beings. Now, why can or can't we use those? Well, we kind of already moved into the same being as them. We've been swapped and changed and altered and chose this and chose that and been chosen for so long that now we're essentially turning into these hybridized foods where they have to mix genetics and they have to mix concepts and they have to mix ideas and they have to mix, but you forget what they're leaving out. They're leaving out the meat. I leave out the meat this time of year sometimes just because my body's trying to eat more than it needs. That's a fact of how I feel. But sometimes you have to have those things. This might not be meat, but it's protein. And it's hard protein the way a meat works. And it has the greens in it just the way we'd be eating. So think about that. If you hear me talking about making fried potatoes, I use a little bit of olive oil and rely on the moisture of the potatoes and the vegetables to really steam all these things in here rather than adding a bunch of heavy meats and salty this and that, because that's been part of our downfall for such a long time. I'm not saying to stop eating meat, to not eat bacon or sausage or ham, but just think about the content and how much you're eating and your activity level and what else you're eating it with, because you can fill it with other stuff. So that's my timer. I think I'm going to stop for the day because I'm getting real hungry. So if you were listening, thank you very much, and Mitawa. All right, so nobody accuses me of holding out. I've got the pan here, and the eggs are on top. The heat is off, but with the heat and the steam of that, I could probably take the lid off really quick. Let me turn on a light for you. A little bit of light here. Sorry about that. You see it sizzling away. All those veggies in there. Some people are like, where's your meat at? Maybe tonight or this afternoon I'll have, I do have meat, but I eat it in different times, different activity. So I'm going to wait until I go out today and get out, since I normally do this, and I'm going self-timed right now. Funny dogs. It is windy and cold here, and it was just 70 degrees the other day, maybe 2 days ago. So thank you for listening. These considerations are just for people to think about how, I'm not trying to tell you how to eat or how to live, but considerations of our food sources and our traditional staples, not just for Indian peoples or Native peoples or Indigenous peoples or wherever you're from, but also reaching way back. And if you have these genetics, considering how you consume versus how you reciprocate. Because either we consume and use it all up, or we reciprocate and keep putting a little bit back. You see me going around my nose here. But you go a little bit and a little bit. See this little circle here? Sometimes you can consume and sometimes you can give back. So think about that. A lot of our give back here is through compost. We put it back in the ground and, try to, as like I said, I've been building a compost pile. It's a pit for about 3 years now, 2.5, 3 years. And I think it's about to give back. So thank you very much.